Support for this podcast comes from listeners and St. Alphonsus Health System, a regional network of hospitals, clinics, and care providers. St. Alphonsus offers comprehensive healthcare services to individuals and families throughout the community. More information about services and locations is available at stalphonsus.org.
From Boise State Public Radio, this is The Connector. It's Idaho's Daily News. Good morning. I'm George Prentice. This morning, we'll tell you why a star wide receiver will not be playing for the Boise State Broncos this weekend. And no, it's not because of injury. And we have a story on Idaho's dilemma with changing clocks all the time, from standard to daylight saving and back again. Yeah, it's that weekend. It's Friday, October 31st, and here we go with today's stories. Idaho Senator Mike Crapo is being called upon to exercise some of his authority, he's chairman of the Senate Finance Committee, to release financial records linked to infamous sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. Another member of that committee, Democratic Senator Ron Wyden of Oregon, says there are thousands of bank records that total more than $1 billion in transactions for one of Epstein's bank accounts. The Idaho Statesman reached out to Crapo on the matter. He issued a statement not acknowledging any requests of him to support issuing necessary subpoenas for those bank records, but Crapo insisted that it is the U.S. House and its Oversight Committee that should lead any investigation into Epstein. Tens of thousands, in fact nearly 200,000 Idahoans are members of PERSI, Idaho's public retirement system. But the newly formed RPEI, Retired Public Employees of Idaho, says PERSI has not been keeping up with cost of living adjustments. A spokesman for RPEI is a familiar voice, Mike Masterson, former chief of police in the city of Boise and retiree.
You know, historically, PERSI promised that pension payments would keep up with inflation, and over time, the cost of living adjustments or the COLAs generally did that. Well, within the last 5 years, it's changed. Inflation has risen more than 22%. Social Security COLAs have increased 25%, but the PERSI retirement benefit during that same time period only rose 8%.
Masterson says PERSI, not keeping up with COLA, has not been getting the attention that it should be.
Let's face it, it's kind of been a silent issue. There haven't been many public awareness campaigns. When we see the benchmark for state-run retirement systems, we are lagging behind. And we want to know why.
So with strength in numbers, the new group, and again, it's Retired Public Employees of Idaho, or RPEI, which any retiree can join, is hoping to work with the PERSI board and state legislature to address the issue.
There's over 190,000 active and retired members.
One of their planned actions is to actually get a retiree member on the PERSI board and engage with more of the public through regular town halls. This will be the weekend that we change our clocks back for daylight standard time. The concept of standard or saving time goes back nearly a century. The debate over whether we should continue the practice of moving clocks forward and back has intensified over the last several years. In fact, there's rarely a year when someone in the Idaho legislature doesn't propose a law to end the practice of moving our clocks. The most recent one coming from GOP House Representative Joe Alfieri of Coeur d'Alene.
We're going to get rid of this ridiculous switch that we have, which is coming up on Sunday when we have to move our clocks or throw clocks out the window. It's standard time is the logical way in which time has been kept for a very long time. The switch to daylight savings time came in 100 and something years ago. Since then, we have implemented this magnificent idea that's called electricity. This reminds me of cutting the top off a blanket and putting it on the bottom and thinking that you have a longer blanket. It just doesn't work.
So his measure and others would have us stay with standard time year-round. Right now, there are only 2 states that do that, stay on standard time, Arizona and Hawaii. Most legislation that has come through the Idaho legislature has been attached to our neighboring states doing the same, but there hasn't been much movement there. In the meantime, this weekend, we move our clocks back as we shift to standard time for the next several months. The Boise State football team coming off a big win last Friday as they continued their Mountain West Conference play tomorrow against rival Fresno State. The big news this week, is that top wide receiver Chris Marshall will not be playing this weekend. It's not an injury, it's a disciplinary action. Here's head coach Spencer Danielson this week.
Chris Marshall will not be a part of the team this week. Love Chris. He is a huge part of this team, but he's not going to be a part of this week. The standards that we have here and how you act and how you interact with coaches and players matters. And I hope that he uses this time to learn and grow from. I love Chris. He is a huge part of this team. Not going to answer any more questions on that. Just want to make sure you guys are aware of it.
And indeed, that is all he has said about the issue this week. So Chris Marshall is out. Now, as for tomorrow's game, it's a big one. Fresno State has been a definitive rival for the Broncos over the years.
And you look at their team, I mean, last 2 times we played Fresno State, they beat us. Last time they played us on the blue in the championship game, they beat us. Last time we played Fresno State at their place, they beat us. And we know we're going to get their absolute best, and they got a great roster, they got great coaches, and we know it's going to be a huge test.
The game is sold out. The sellout extends the Boise State sellout streak to 13 consecutive games. Kickoff is 1:30 p.m. Tomorrow's game will be televised on Fox Sports 1. And that is today's episode of The Connector. I'm George Prentice. We'll see you back here on Monday. You can stay in touch with the news all the time at boisestatepublicradio.org or download the free Boise State Public Radio app. For now, from me to you, thanks for listening.
Stay connected with Boise State Public Radio on Instagram. From breaking news and local stories to behind-the-scenes videos, it's where our community comes together. Follow Boise State Public Radio today.